In this video, we are going to do a column layout using Photoshop. So we're going to start off by creating a new file. It's going to be a print document, 8.5 by 11. Create, right? This is 8.5 by 11. So now we want to put in some of our grid and guidelines so that we can design everything so it all lines up. So we go over here to View, Guides, New Guide Layout, right? So this is defaulted to a previous project. So let's say we no longer want rows, we just want columns. This is a 2-column grid with a gutter in the middle, and the gutter is 1/2 inch, which may be what you want, it may not be what you want. If you're putting your text all the way to the edges, you are going to want to have some space between it. We can change the column number to 3, right? If that's what you want to work with. In which case the gutter, let's get rid of this, the width. Okay, so now it's just going to be 3 columns. It's going to do its own math. I got rid of the width. So it's doing its own math. The only thing I have to worry about now is the gutter. So see, I want them a little bit closer together. I can change this to 0.25. So now it's closer together. So you really have to think about how far you want it away from the edges, like what your margins are going to be. If you want your margins to be, you definitely want to have some margins all the way around, because you do not want it, you want it, so when you're printing something, you want to have some white space. So right now the margin's 0.75. Really anything that you, according to your design, how you want to do it. If you wanted 4 columns, you'd put in the 4 columns. And it does the math for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you're doing it so that you also have rows, you can put that in also. If in your design you had the rows, again, get rid of the height, because that's going to limit how this is going to work for you. So 5, right? So now I have a grid like that. Okay, so let's just say that I'm doing 3 columns and I'm not doing any rows particularly. Press OK. So this is my 3-column grid. Now let's say I want to add my graphic that I made. So over here, I have my graphic, right? So right now it's in several different layers. So again, I'm pressing one layer, I'm pressing Shift, I'm picking them all up. I am right-clicking. I am merging those layers, the ones that I chose. So now it's all on one layer. So I'm going to choose it. I'm going to copy it with my keyboard commands. I'm going to go in here. So say I want to put it, I have it planned out. It's going to go up here. You can actually grab a guide from the top. This way everything will kind of line up. When you're making text, you want to make sure your text isn't like right here and then right here and right here. You want your text always to line up. So it's really useful to have these, to pull these down, these guides down, so you can start your text at the same spot. So now let's say I've decided I'm going to put it right in there. So I'm going to go over here. My keyboard commands, there it is, right? I decided I was going to put it right in here. That was my plan. I'm going to make it nice and big, right like that. It's not rasterizing very much because the stuff that I made, they're vectors and not pixels. So this is the graphic that I made. This is about where I want it. It's going above it. That's okay. All right, I'm happy with that. Move down a little bit. Okay, so now I have my graphic in place, exactly where I wanted it, according to my plan. And now I'm going to start adding kind of my text, right? So if we were doing something like that has a hierarchy of text, if we were doing something like a menu, you would go over here, you would grab your text tool. You figure you want it right about in this box right here. It actually snaps to your grid. Okay, so in here, I can go over here to my text tool, my paragraph tool. So I can go over here to open that up if I wanted to. I have my character tool and my paragraph right here. So they're both right here. Okay, so I'm going to put down desserts. All right, so I definitely want a different font that I've chosen with my designing. I want to choose it, and then I want to change it to, there we go, let's change that one. And then I want it much smaller, so I'm going to shrink it. Like 16, that's a little too small, so maybe I want them all 30. All right, that's my desserts. Okay, so I want it, so it is over here, like that. Look at my dessert section. So that's just my dessert section. Those are my desserts are going to be in there. Okay, so there we go. So now everything underneath there, make it bold. Everything underneath there is going to be kind of lined up. Right, so I've got this. I made my dessert. This is my dessert place, and now I want to put my first dessert in. I would type that in using my text tool. Right. I want to make this smaller because that's how it's going to work. This size is 18, right? So say I have ice cream. All right, I want this to be a different font because all my headings are going to be that one font, and all of my actual titles of my items are going to be there. Okay. And now I'm going to describe it. So now I can switch again. I'm going to press the return key. And I'm over here, and now I'm going to add cherry flavor. Okay, so this again needs to be, I'm going to have some kind of description. This needs to be again smaller. I'll probably make this closer to like maybe a 14 point. So I have 3 different size texts in here. Okay, you want everything nice and lined up. And then say I have my other heading, I can pull this down here. And I want another heading. I probably want to line it up on this line. Just kind of line everything up. You can break, as you can see, you can break the rules. You can have some of them going over 2, some of them going over 3, things like that. So another thing you can do, you can add your, if you go back in here, I'm going to choose this text right here. I can add, just for this one, I'm going to be adding, by going to my paragraph, I can add, here we go, like that. You can see that. Okay. All right, so I have that on there. Now I am going to say I want to put like some kind of a shape around this whole thing. I can go over into my shape tools, my rectangle tool. I'm going to put that over here like this. I'm going to line it up. Right, I decided I want to kind of, it's going to go like that. And I really want the edges to be rounded off. I don't want it to look like that. So how would I go about doing that? If you want to round off the corners of this, you just make sure you selected it, and then you can just pull this one of these little circles, and you can change what you want that to look like, right? And then if I go over to layers, I can take the rectangle and I'm going to put it behind there. So now that's on top, right? If you're going to make the same shape twice, you got to make sure it's exactly the same. So you would definitely want to select it. You want to select your rectangle. Right? And then you want to copy and then paste it. So make sure you have if you're doing something twice, it needs to be exactly the same unless it's specifically different. All right. I hope that helps.